If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And leave us a comment. We love hearing from you.
Hey everyone, we are talking about the Chanterelle pants today, and we're going to talk about changing the body rise or crotch depth on the pattern. There are two different times that you might do this. The first is that it's a bit too tight on your body, so that maybe it's giving you kind of a bit of a wedgie in the front or back, or it's just simply not sitting like your waist level keeps wanting to pull it upward, so again then it results in kind of a wedgie. The other reason is that maybe you just want it to be a high-rise pant instead of a low-rise pant, or you want it to be a low-rise pant instead of a high-rise pant. And so if you are dealing with the first one, you might be looking at the suggested body rise measurement here and noticing that your body rise is different. And the way you would measure your body rise is taking a seat on a chair and measuring the distance between the seat and your waist level where the pants will sit. And that should correspond reasonably close to what they have suggested here. And if it doesn't, it might mean you might want to make an adjustment. So for me, I was actually, we'll say about an inch out. It's fairly close, but I think my waistline tends to be a bit higher than the expected waistline. So I would like to increase the body rise by 1 inch. So in order to do that, we have a few different steps we're going to take. And the first one is because sometimes on patterns they have the increase and decrease length line on them, but on the Chanterelle pants they do not include that. So we're going to establish where to put that, then we're going to cut it, we're going to create a gap, and then tape it together. So let's go ahead and cut on the front. So one thing that's important with doing this body rise adjustment is that you want it to be not interfering with any detail. You don't want to stretch out the detail. So for instance, if you know your pocket needs to go here, or even if you have an inset pocket or something, this one is a patch pocket, so it's not too big of a deal. But if that is the case, then you want to make sure you're doing the rise adjustment away from the detail. Because it's the patch pocket, we might find that there is interference with how the curve here interacts with the curve on the pocket. So we will try our best to keep this shape about the same. But as long as that there's not like the inset or the the pocket that sort of shows here, we wouldn't want to stretch that out. That would be a really big mistake, because then those pattern pieces wouldn't match at all. But doing an inset pocket or a patch pocket, it's okay to like kind of work around. I am still going to go below this notch point though. Okay, so I'm going to extend the grain line because that's going to help us with alignment. And then below this line here, perpendicular to the grain line. So that means that I'm doing a right angle, perfect right angle to this grain line. I'm going to do a horizontal line coming across. And actually I'm going to go up a little bit higher because I also don't want to be in this crotch curve area, because that will mess it up. So I might even come right up to this notch, to when it's coming a bit straight here in the crotch line. Because again, that if we were extending here, we're going to mess up that crotch line shape. So we want to make sure we're away from any details. So let's go right there. And now I'm going to go ahead and just slice that. All right, so using a scrap piece here, all right, so I'm gonna mark a line, and then I'm gonna measure up 1 inch from that line. And then that will show me where I need to attach the two pattern pieces. So one line there, and line up at the 1 inch marking. And then putting a second line, here we go. All right, and so now that I have these two lines, what I'm gonna do is align the pattern pieces along that line. So first we'll tape this guy down here. And then I'm going to line this piece along the line too. But this is the important part, is that you need to make sure that this grain line extends and that both grain lines are lined up. That way you know that the pieces are still going to hit alignment and not be like, well, crooked or shifted, because then you'll have a weird shift in your pattern that you didn't expect. So just holding that in place, putting a piece of tape and a piece of tape. There we go. Now, to connect these lines, sometimes even though we've aligned on the grain line, there still is a shift. So what I'm going to do is sort of take this like approximation rule where I am just going to go ahead and sort of finish the line lined up as close as possible, and it's okay if it has a slight change. So in this one we've got a bit of a curve, but it looks like it's still lining up okay. So we just, and just as long as it's close. Sometimes you'll extend on one side and take in from the other side. That's okay, just as long as it's close. So now I can go ahead and trim that off. I can actually probably trim off all the excess back here too. There we go. Okay, so we've got the front down. Next we will work on the back. If this line was already marked, we wouldn't worry about this part. We would just go ahead straight onto the back. But because this line was not marked for us, I'm going to go ahead and check the same from the outside leg of the pants where they're going to be connecting. I am going to align them and then mark that same point on the back so that we're doing the extension from the same point. So there, I marked it on the back. We can put these side to the side. And I'm going to repeat that same process I just did, which is I'm going to do a perpendicular line to the grain. And now I've got a point to match up, which is right here. And I'm going to cut my label, unfortunately. I think this is enough room here. And again, doing 1 inch, you want to do the same on the back as you did on the front and vice versa, unless you're going to add an angle, and that's a little bit more of a tricky bit. That takes a little bit more drafting than we're doing here. This is just going to be a very simple rise change. There's also other rise changes you can, or not rise changes, but crotch curve changes you can do if the pants are fitting sort of snug in weird places, but it doesn't seem like the rise needs to change. That's a bit more in-depth process. I have personally used Closet Core pants fitting as a guide for what changes to make. But yeah, that takes a bit more than sort of 5 minutes to do and really requires you to do a toil and to try it on, because that one you really just need to see how it fits. Whereas this one you can kind of determine through measurements and how your preferences are on what's going to fit. If this was sort of something I wanted to change from high rise to low rise to, I would just, you could do many more inches than what we're doing here. And then if I wanted to do this shorter, instead of doing this extension bit, I would have simply folded it and shrank it. And now this is a situation in which you would kind of do like, take a bit and give a little bit to either side. This one, yeah, take a little bit and give a little bit. Sort of, this is a lot to shrink by. You'd probably be more like there. You sort of just be like connecting to the top point from that bottom point. That'd be fine. This one connects almost over exactly even. And you just begin making sure that this aligns. But yeah, if you wanted to just shorten it, you could just do a fold. And you wouldn't even have to cut the pattern. Here we go, and I'm just gonna go ahead and make sure this is aligned. I'm also kind of using the grid on my cutting table, and it's helping me out. There we go. Oh, fudge. All right, just using the grid on my cutting table to align those. There we go. Okay, and applying some tape. There we go, and then yeah, we can trim this down. Trim this down. All right, and then we're done. We have adjusted the rise on the front and back by 1 inch. Thanks for watching, everyone, and please tune in to watch me do the Chanterelle pants live during July.